Hey, Samantha here, and I'm back with the Quarterly Book Club. Why quarterly? Because you're busy and books are long. Today we are reviewing Stephen King's Misery. It came out in 1988, and we also watched the movie too. Super creepy. So you're going to hear some comparisons between the two as we talk about the book and the movie. I will be joined soon by friends Katie and Amanda. Katie is our very first second return. She was in quarter one, where we reviewed The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. And I hope this holiday season is treating you guys really well, and hope you enjoyed Misery. So I was saying I'm up so much higher than you guys. If you wanted to bring it, if you want to sit on your pillow, you can.
Like
she brought a pillow.
I do too. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I feel.
I can look down on you like I'm rightfully supposed to.
It's fitting. Yeah, it's nice. I like it.
You guys are so very nice. Oh man, alrighty. So hello, I'm Sam. Welcome to the Quarterly Book Club. Why quarterly? Because you're busy and books are long. At the taping of this, next week is Christmas, which is why we're all wearing our wonderful hats. So Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, all of the above. So why don't you tell us who you are and why you're here today?
I'm Katie because I read Misery by Stephen King, and we're going to review it today just for you guys.
And I'm Amanda, and I also read Misery, here to review.
Here to review.
Oh, funny. Okay, so this is making me a little warm, so I'm going to take it off.
Let's just all together now. Throw it up, fix the hair.
Christmas spreads everywhere. That's what it is. We're spreading cheer. I love that hat. I found that at a Five Below for like $3.
Nice.
It was the punishment hat last year for a Christmas contest we had in the office.
It was a game, actually. She invented it. Elf tag, of course.
Yep, elf tag. Yes. So you had to take an elf and hide it on someone's desk. And then if they didn't find it by the end of the day, the next day they had to wear the hat.
The dreaded.
And if you
Back in the good old days.
Oh, I know.
When times were fun.
I know I do sound a little off. I've been slightly ill, so hopefully these two don't get too sick after being here with me for a while. She's leaning away. I don't want to be at work. Cough on me. Here, don't wash your hands. Just ew. But yeah, just lick the rim.
That's like Phoebe from Friends.
Yeah, I need to get sick again. Smelly cat, smelly cat.
Oh my gosh, that was beautiful.
Too fun. We harmonize very well, but only when I'm sick. Okay.
Pack up that phlegm and it's over.
Oh, that was. That was really gross. Our producer just looked at me like, oh.
Oops.
He's not a fan of mucus and phlegm.
As are most, I would assume not.
It's not a good thing. I hated it when I'd be out in the morning jogging and I would just see a glistening thing of phlegm on the sidewalk. I'm like, just spit it in the grass, please. This is disgusting.
Yeah.
So speaking of disgusting, there was some oogie things in this book.
Yes.
I'm going to say oogie a lot. That and cockadoodie.
Yeah, cockadoodie's cockadoodie.
Dirty birdie.
That was my favorite.
But
she didn't say it in the movie.
She said it
said
one
time.
I
Cockadoodie
missed
a
it
lot.
then, because I was waiting for it. She's like, those dirty neighbors.
Yep.
Yeah.
The Roidmans.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, Roid. So every time I read the word Roidmans, I was like, so are they all like buff?
Yeah.
Like, Roidmans.
I pictured Amish people when I was reading about them.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing to picture.
I pictured something West Virginia-like, but even though they were in Colorado.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
So when you guys, now none of us have read the book before. I had seen the movie before. You guys seen the movie? Never seen it?
Yeah.
You had
I've never seen the movie or read the book.
So what was your first thought based on just the description of the book when you agreed to do this and you went and looked up what the book was?
Yeah, I thought it was just the description of like how I didn't think misery was going to be a character in a book. I just thought it was just saying like misery.
Loves company.
Yeah. I don't know, something like that. That's what I envisioned. But
I agree with you. I had no
Yeah.
idea that that was a character in the writer's book. So, you know, you read the description, you're like, okay, you know, Stephen King, which I've never read a Stephen King movie or book.
Oh, that's right. You've never read Stephen
And I've
King
never
before.
really watched a Stephen King movie either.
Is what is the one, not chandeliers?
Oh, the Langoliers.
Langoliers.
Yeah.
Is that
Langoliers.
Stephen King?
Yes.
That's Stephen King. I've seen that.
I guess I've seen that one. So it was just, I agree with you. Like, I had no idea that was a character in a
Yeah.
book and how that whole
Which
thing
is still a
bubbled together.
weird character name, I thought.
Misery
Yeah.
Chastain.
Yeah.
I don't get the name Misery. I mean, I get it in the context of the book, but to
Right.
but to be an author and be like, what am I going to name my character? Misery. Like I
Yeah.
just.
Yeah.
But then the books are fictional things and the book itself is fictional, so name it whatever you want.
Yeah.
Because maybe your name had something to do with a deeper meaning in the
I think so,
within
like,
Paul
with-
Sheldon's world.
Yes. I think that was,
Target.
yeah.
So, so when you finish, we all finished the book. So what was your first thought when you finished it? Like, how did you feel?
So it was an interesting transition from when Annie Wilkes died to just like 18 months later,
Yeah.
like whatever that time frame was, and then he's back in New York and he's walking, and there's like these flashbacks of Annie coming back. I'm like, what's happening right now?
Yeah.
It felt a little strange, and then it ended. I was like, oh, okay, the guy's all right.
I don't know. I wanted more detail. I didn't like.
Yeah.
I don't like flash forwards. I don't like.
Yeah.
I like to. I don't know. I like the road to recovery, and we didn't get
You
that.
got no
it was
road,
just you
yeah.
got the ending, which was when she died, and then he's recovered, which I was glad that he. But I just thought that we would get more detail along the
Yeah.
way of him.
I think it's definitely a PTSD thing. Like he's stuck with
Yes.
those memories and envisions for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Like
No,
that's
he's
not going
fucked
away. So the first one to curse, bam.
Dirty birdie,
Oh, you dirty birdie!
cock-a-doodle, you ruined everything.
Okay, who would cast Annie Wilkes the better?
I have two.
You grew up on a pig farm, so
It's all full circle.
here's the-
I know it was
okay.
a little intense. I'm sorry, but I just love connections.
Our producer's looking at the audio board going, ugh.
Sorry. Okay, continue.
I knew we were going to get louder.
Oh, God.
Strike two. That does bring up an interesting thing, though, of like the casting. So obviously Kathy Bates
Amazing.
was spot on, and
Yeah,
it's very hard
perfect.
to even like move past that and envision who else would play that. So
Well, she won an Oscar for it.
Oh,
had to
didn't
have.
know
I
that.
mean,
She won an Oscar,
yeah,
and she
absolutely
was
amazing.
That was one of her first movie roles. She was a very well-respected theater actress for many, many years. And William Goldman, who wrote Princess Bride, adapted the book to screen. And he wrote it with her in mind.
Oh, wow.
With Kathy Bates in mind.
Yeah, she was perfect for
Yep.
it.
Well, Bette Midler passed on the role, and later called herself stupid for passing on the role.
What's interesting is, I was thinking about like who else would play that, and Bette Midler came to mind. I was like, nah, no way. Like
Yeah,
she's
she
just
turned
like,
it down.
She did,
yeah, and I didn't know that fact.
Yep. And the guy who played Paul Sheldon was like 8th on the list. Like they went through so many male actors, and
As soon as I saw that he was doing that part, I just kept thinking of Elf. Because he's the dad in
Oh,
Elf.
yeah.
That's like what I continued to think about throughout the whole movie. I was just like, huh? Have you seen
I've
Elf?
totally
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Many
he's
times.
about
the
that.
dad.
Oh.
So that's what I thought about the whole time.
Interesting.
I was like, where do I know that guy from? Oh yeah, no, thank
Yeah.
you. It's a connection.
Yeah.
So, do you guys have, what was your favorite let's start with favorite part, quote, and or character of the book. So if you had to pick like one part.
Well, the whole book is interesting because we
It
really
is.
only have 2 to work with. So you either like the protagonist or the guy. I mean, I liked Paul Sheldon, and I liked how the character. We were in his mind like a lot, and it was him. I don't know, dealing with his
that internal struggle.
Yeah, but I liked how it would throw in like he was on his own radio show in his head, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it threw me off at first. I'm like, what am I reading? Oh, I get what he's doing, because he's like kind of going a little bit crazy, and he's,
Trying to mentally protect yourself because your brain will put up protective walls.
So he was my favorite because I felt bad for him.
Yeah.
I wanted him to get there. Get out.
What about you? Do you have a...
Character-wise, obviously, I mean, there's only
Annie
a
Wilkes
couple.
is your favorite.
Yeah, Annie Wilkes like crushed it.
Yeah.
She was
just
I mean,
crazy,
just way
psycho.
crazier than the movie could
Yeah.
ever.
yeah,
I mean,
ever capture. Yep.
Yeah.
And I
As
thought it
great
was-
as great as the movie is, and as how great as Kathy Bates is, that
It couldn't be.
the
yeah.
book is
Yeah.
just so much more in depth into her
really
brain.
So
builds it,
scripted.
and it's not like necessarily horrific, but it's just very intense.
Well,
Yes.
The way that builds.
Yeah. I mean, the whole scene with the hobbling, that in the book, it was so drawn out and so descriptive.
graphic.
And then in the movie, it's just so bam, bam,
Yeah.
done, which was disgusting. I still was shuddered when she did that. But in the book, I think I was more horrified from reading it.
Yep.
He just
Yeah.
gives so much detail. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
in the movie, she's just like, wham,
Yeah.
bam, you're
But
done.
I didn't want to look away in the book. Like, I just was like,
Oh, yeah.
oh, it's happening.
It's happening. Yeah. Like, no, she's not going to do that. Oh, my gosh. And then,
And yep, she did.
yeah. So that
And-
was...
But then she's telling the story of these are the guys in the mines. This is why they did that. When they would run away
Yeah.
and they
So they
would,
could still
and I'm
work
just
and
like,
not- Yeah, you knew what's happening. I honestly, I was trying to second guess what would happen, and I didn't even think that, I didn't know, like, did you know what, because
well, I've seen the movie before. I saw the movie when I was a kid,
when
so
you read
I
the book,
knew
you knew what was happening,
I
yeah.
knew that she was I hobbling, because the movie they made the legs out of gelatin, and she was actually whacking something, so it would get that crank. So I knew, like, because it's talking about there's something heavy she's moving around, and how that messes with Paul's mind, and I was like, oh, here comes the sledgehammer. So I'm reading it just like, I
in
can't put it down.
In the book, she chops
chops it off.
Yeah, like with an axe.
But I was expecting a sledgehammer because
Yes.
I've
Because
seen
you've
the
seen the-
movie.
okay.
So, but then when the axe came out, I was like, oh! So that took me by surprise.
so disgusting. Oh my gosh.
And just
I know.
describing the sound
Yeah, I know.
that it made, and how he keeps coming back to that in his mind when he's recovering after he's
That's why
escaped.
he's up there.
But it was interesting, and like after that scene was done in the book, like she chops off his leg, and then just kind of moves forward, and he's typing at his computer again, almost like immediately. Like it
Yeah.
was.
It's pretty interesting. And
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
and then he was talking about his thumb, and then it flashes back to when she cut his thumb off.
I
was
gotta
like,
let,
what?
At first, I was like, did I
Miss
miss
something?
a part?
Yeah.
I thought so
Yeah.
too.
And I was like, no, I'm pretty sure I read every single word
Yeah.
during that scene.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And then I realized
they
that it was
recap
that.
it
Yep.
as a flashback, and I was like, oh, so he lost a thumb too, which didn't happen
Which
in the movie.
is smart
Yeah.
for her, because
Right.
he's,
Gotta be
you're
taken
asking
away.
him to, I mean, not that you need your thumbs, but it's just,
And if
you
it's
don't want
his
your,
if it's his non-dominant hand, he's not hitting the space bar with his left. He's hitting it with the space bar with his right.
I don't know if I use my thumbs or not when I type.
With space
definitely
bar
do.
generally.
Yeah, maybe I do.
Well, in traditional school typing,
Yeah.
your thumbs are for the space bar. But if it's his non-dominant hand, it's not going to affect him that badly. But it's still, and he's already missing 3 letters.
Yeah,
you
I
know,
know.
the N's, the
T's.
T's and the E's.
There you go.
So I have a question for you. When he said, because I wrote down a few quotes as well. Thank God for the good old IBM correct tape. Did you have to look that up?
No. I didn't look it up because I think I know what it was. Isn't it the white tape that you put over words? Because I used that back in school. Isn't that what that is? It's like a tape gun that you do this over the words and you can rewrite over it. That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I just assumed that's what it was because I use that.
I just wanted to tease you
because I'm young.
It's a generational gap.
Kind of. Well, anytime we talk about night, you know what that is, but you don't know what a light bright is.
I know what a light bright is. I don't know what the other toy was. You had some other
The
toy.
glowworm.
Teddy Ruxpin.
Yes.
I don't know what that is, but I
There
know
we
but
go.
they've redone a light bright.
They did.
They've
yeah, they
redone
brought it
Teddy
back.
Ruxpin to Bluetooth.
But yeah, we spent many.
That's my plug for Teddy Ruxpin.
We spent.
bought stock.
I told her about you doing that. We spent. Katie is our first return guest. She was in quarter 1 with Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware, which Ruth Ware is coming out with a new book, third one,
Oh.
and Woman in Cabin 10 is also being optioned for a movie.
Ooh, I would like it as a movie. I
Yeah.
think better than the book. It was
I think so, too.
super slow. It's
Anyway.
a 5.
Go back and watch quarter 1 for that review. So we've spent a lot of time teasing Katie about her age, even though she's not that much younger. It's only maybe 5
I
years.
think one time you
but-
referenced me as your mom or like a motherly something. And I was like, if I birthed you at 8.
My work mom maybe, but okay, why do people put these words in my mouth? Because Kathy, our boss, says at some point in my work history, I've called her my grandmother. Never voiced those words. I'm like, I think you just think that, and then you're like giving
because
me
it's
this,
something she would say.
probably on accident.
Yeah.
Smoking old lady.
That's funny.
Any more curse words you want to throw in there?
What if she watches this?
Don't
put this on Facebook.
She knows we love her.
Oh my God.
So, least favorite part.
No, I'm
Is there a
nervous.
part that like, oh, you're fine. She doesn't care about what the rest of us do. So, least favorite part or quote, is there anything that was kind of, that you didn't like, any flow or any character, other than Annie Wilkes, because she's a nut job. But
I would say the least favorite part that I did have to look up was the reference to the pain pills with the pillings in the, you know,
The
that
pilings.
The pilings.
Okay, I didn't know how to say it. Pilings. I didn't know what that
I
was.
looked
And
it up
you said
too.
it so
Yep.
much
Yeah,
in the
there's a big
beginning, and I was
reference.
like, "What is this?" And I was like, maybe it's like a word for pills. And I was like, no, this is so like with the water and the tides. I was like, it's got to be something. So I googled it, and the first thing I googled it was people asking about misery. They're like, what does this mean? So
and what did you find?
Oh, that it's the waves crashing against the things. I don't know. I guess those are
Pilings?
pilings,
Yeah.
on a.
Because he referenced it many times throughout the book, and
Yeah,
I ended up having to look it up too.
more heavily, I felt in the beginning. And
Yeah, in the very beginning,
Yeah,
as
so.
the pills are first coming in, and then because
Yeah.
it's like the
a
pilings
wave
are
of
getting
pain,
so
and then-
big that it's going to blot out the sun.
Yeah. So I didn't dislike it. That was just the one thing where I was like, I don't know what this means. I'm gonna look it up. So.
Yeah, if it disappeared from the book, I wouldn't have
Missed
Missed
it.
it.
Missed it,
Exactly.
yeah.
I kind of
And I think that those are.
And I don't know why they had to make that metaphor so strong. Like, I mean, I get it, you're in pain, and it feels like waves of pain, but
He does such a good job of describing it to begin with.
Yeah.
That was
It
unnecessary.
went a little too far.
Yeah.
Well, Stephen King tends to do that, and a lot of people don't like to. People don't really like to edit Stephen King, especially after
all it is.
after the 80s, when some of his books got a lot bigger, or during the 80s, people just didn't like to edit him. That's why you have 1,400-page books, and this is my third Stephen King book this year. So I'm just like, I enjoy Stephen King a lot, but there is some things that and he has come out and said that it's the moments when the author is really loving everything he's writing down that he knows the audience is going to find boring.
Yes.
So it's the parts that the author is the most excited about that other people are going to find the most mundane.
Stephen King
So,
said that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
so I mean, he's very aware of
Knows what he's doing,
himself.
but he's like,
Yeah.
I'm a top seller, I'll read it.
Well, you know, he's
Indulge
the
me.
author, right? If he likes it, whatever.
Yeah.
Just skip this part if you don't like
Right,
it. I
right,
don't
right.
care.
Yeah.
But you know, he cares about his craft and has for many, many years, and that's just. I think it speaks more to the care the author has for his storytelling and his craft than it does anything else. You know, it's like, but a lot of people don't like to edit it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They're like pretty much just stopped editing and do what you want. But he's been regarded as like the best storyteller of our time. Like he's going to be taught in colleges someday, which I totally agree with. But you know, but he does something. I can't say least favorite part, but something that always throws me is like the slang he comes up with for like genitalia. And he is a real goofball. And in this book, it's usually something different in every book. And I want to find a list of all of them just because I think it's
I'm sure
funny.
someone's made
But
it.
in this book, it's called a man gland.
I mean, it makes me cringe right now.
I know,
just
it's
hearing
really
it.
gross.
It's like,
I was like,
It's just a
Man
very
gland.
visual. You instantly visual. I mean, I do. I don't know. It's very
oh yeah, it's
we all have our own visions right now. You don't have to describe your own.
You don't want me to.
you know,
See,
it's
this is
curse,
what
but
I
I'm going to
picture.
describe this
I know
thing.
you I visualize it.
She
Sorry, guys.
visualized.
I really don't. Oh Lord, but yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh Lord.
So, being your first Stephen King book, do you think you'll read more?
I think I could be, yes, in the right setting, I would read more. I don't necessarily think that I would go to a bookstore and be pilfering through a bunch of books and be like, oh, I should pick this up. But if somebody said, because I don't want to read a 1,400-page book. I mean,
He does have a lot of shorter ones.
Yeah, like Game of Thrones is enough for me to like
Yeah.
get through. But if there were some shorter books in there and somebody was like, yeah, this is definitely worth reading, I would absolutely pick another one up again.
I have a few for you.
Yeah.
I have a few I can lend you too because I actually have them,
Even
not
better.
just on the e-reader. So I did write down some quotes. that I thought were kind of like fiddle-de-foof was another of her curse
Talking
words.
about the roof.
Yeah, fiddle-de-foof. Handsome is as handsome does, my
Yeah.
mother always said. I was like, did Forrest Gump's mother raise her?
Yeah, I know.
And I thought this one was really great when he first meets Annie Wilkes, and he's describing her, and he says her eyes glittered like tarnished dimes. I was like, ooh, like that one. I was like, ooh, because you see a tarnish. It's not shiny, but there's a gleam there, but it's like dead, matted. You know, like I could just picture her eyes like that. It's so creepy. And then it was the famous old hotel called the Overlook. So he mentions the Overlook Hotel from The Shining in this one.
I never made that connection.
The second I saw it, I screenshot the page and I was like, whoa! And
That's so cool. I love that.
so he often connects a lot of his books, and like I've been online looking up like Stephen King universe, and there's huge charts of stuff
that's
that
so awesome.
will connect his universe. He mentions The Shining in many of his books. The Shine, like in The Stand, he talks about The Shine and a few other books. And this one, he references the Overlook because the Overlook is in Colorado, and that's where they are. So, her first kill, pardon me, Annie Wilkes' first kill was the boyfriend that was going to go sketch the Overlook. So he's on his way through Sidewinder to get to the Overlook to go sketch the Overlook. Found out that he was lying, and that's why she killed him.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
and
that's
then.
so cool.
So what about Annie's little memory lane book?
I didn't see that coming. I didn't know that.
I knew she
don't
had
know.
killed people.
Sure, like you knew that she was just
I did
completely off of a rocker.
I wouldn't have called it a murderer though, not from the beginning. I just thought she was psychotic, you know.
I thought, just kind of a stalker gone.
A psyched fan. Just
Yes.
Little
And then
your
the fact
number
that she
one
had
fan.
this
Yeah.
like huge years of book.
but it's weird that she just has to document all. It's like a trophy book almost.
Yeah.
Where serial killers
Yep,
tend
and
to
that's
keep.
exactly what.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
But what I didn't see coming, and I love it when I can't see this stuff coming, is I did not expect the infants. Like she killed infants and elderly.
I was trying to think maybe she did that. I don't know about the elderly, but maybe the infants. Maybe she couldn't have kids, or I don't know if it was like
Or
a
like
thing.
the world is so screwed up.
She doesn't want kids in this world, or some tie with her mother because she references her mom so much.
Her
Like,
mom's-
oh, my mom taught me this. My mom taught me this. I don't know if that was like, I don't know.
Yeah, or their
some weird-
parents weren't good enough to have this baby to raise it in this kind of world, stuff like that. So she's saving them the pain, and then the old people are already in pain, so
rid them of their
put them
pain.
out of their misery.
Yeah.
Ha, misery.
Let's do that more.
See, now the next pig on your farm has to be named Misery.
Please don't. That would they're terrifying. You don't have any more pigs on your farm.
No.
Aw. I want a pig. That pig in the movie, the pig was so cute. And he's just.
I know.
I was like, oh, he's a little
It
piggy.
was a real pig in the movie.
I think it was.
I couldn't tell.
Oh yeah, it definitely was a
it?
real pig.
Okay. Yeah.
Had to have been.
Like, because
Yeah.
Paul woke up and was like,
Right?
Yeah. Well, I know, but it was just so like it was trainable. I mean,
pigs
are
are,
smart.
yeah,
Pigs
they're
are dogs.
super trainable.
Don't eat meat. Poor what? Do you want your dogs? Anyways, it's the wrong platform.
Oh, Katie.
Oh, what? Anyway.
Vegetarian. Grew up on a pig farm. I love
But we
beef.
love each other and we coordinated. If you haven't yet noticed, audience,
Black
you're
dog,
not,
pink
you're
dog.
not showing it off. There we go.
Dog paw.
We're just the cutest bunch of girls ever. All right, back to the book.
So, okay. So let me see if I left off. Is this outside of your normal reading habits?
Definitely.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
And did you like going outside your normal reading?
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it kind of tied into what I read a few months back, just in the dark sense of like there was murder. But I usually don't read murder stuff, but I like it. It's always, I like the shock factor, you know?
She likes murder.
I know. God, I'm such a psycho.
No, you don't.
Like
You
Paul
should-
Sheldon.
the
But
way
really,
I
I'm
said
Annie
it.
Wilkes.
In the way, now I'm thinking about how I'm like, yeah, I really like murder. That's really my thing.
I just don't want to wake up in the middle of the night and have you standing over me.
Yeah.
You know, just don't do that, and I
yeah.
think we're good.
Did you guys jump in the movie at all? Like, I know it was made in the 90s, but I jumped with like the one scene where she like it's like a storm and she's standing over him right before she gives him the shot. It made me scream. I don't like stuff.
So I felt like the book did such a good job of like setting the whole thing up that as I was watching the movie, I was thinking about the book the entire time. And so nothing in the movie was really all that shocking.
I'm a big jumper, though.
You are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, yeah, because it wasn't quite as built up quite as much in the movie.
It was not choppy,
it was
but
it was a little staged.
Yeah.
I felt like just I think time era wise.
And
that's absolutely.
it's just still learning how to make movies. But in the very beginning, they just go right to they don't set it up like they do in the book with like him at the hotel. I mean, they kind of do. They give little flashes of him drinking his champagne and stuff. But
Yep. We sat next to each other when we went and saw It. And there were a couple times where she screamed and grabbed onto my arm.
Yeah, and I'm like, I like the shock, but I will always, you can't not do it. I just don't know. Can't help it. I'm a scaredy cat.
Well, I mean, at least you're willing to go see that kind of stuff. It's fun.
I like it.
It's fun. I grew up with that kind of stuff, so it's really hard to get me to jump. It's pretty rare, but so I'm always offering an arm if you need to jump. Like it's fine.
No nails.
So, like my two best friends growing up, I used to sit in between them, and they would both grab on my arms during horror movies, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I would have little fingernail,
bruises,
nail bruises and finger bruises on my arms. I'm like, you
good
guys,
friends.
come on. But speaking of the movie for its time, was fantastic. It was a great adaptation. They stripped it down bare bones. I really like what they did with the cop.
Oh yeah.
And his wife. They were
Excellent
adorable. It was
And they had that little that's the spice or whatever you call it.
Yes.
Yeah.
They were adorable. I loved that couple. And I thought that was a great replacement for to add because the movie, the book is long. There's a lot into it, so you have to strip something down. And I thought that was a great move to replace all the state troopers that came out. Now, the state trooper that came out, Dwayne Kushner, I didn't see that coming at all because I had never read the book. I've only seen the movie. So I knew that the old guy cop was going to get it, but then he never showed up. This young dude comes, and she's stabbing him with the big cross, and then runs him over.
Yes.
But
and then just hauls the body away and is like,
but I thought
wait
some
till
of that
spring.
would be in the movie.
I thought that would be in the movie.
I thought it would. I mean, it's such a...
It was a big part.
Yeah,
and
then
I
they
feel
just
like
skip
it would be
over it.
in a movie now. It would not have been in the early 90s.
That's a good point.
Because
Yeah.
it really,
it's
at that
violent.
point, I was like, he may not survive. Because the cops have now come out here.
And now no one...
And now nobody knows that he's there.
Yeah.
Like, whoever put it together that he is at her house is now dead.
Yeah.
And
It's
Classic.
it was a good build. I was like, he may not live.
I was like, oh, that's not going to end well.
Yeah.
But the death of that poor young cop was that was pretty brutal.
It was brutal.
I mean, I was like, were you either one?
Exactly.
I almost felt that was worse than his leg getting cut off.
Yeah.
Or his ankle getting cut off.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
it just was...
Because the sound of, describing the sound of it going over the guy's face and
But
the
just,
gun
all hope
coming
drained
through.
out.
All of it, absolutely. So if the movie was made now, if they did a brand new adaptation of this movie now, I think it would be much more violent.
Oh, it'd be
Because we're so desensitized.
Even the car crash, the first scene, I'm like, he doesn't even look that bad.
Walk it off. Walk it off.
Nanny.
You cock-a-doodie wimp.
Today it would be just...
So,
Yeah.
who do we think would play Paul Sheldon and Annie Wilkes today?
So I have some thoughts on this.
I love it.
So I pictured Paul Sheldon a little younger than the guy that was in the movie and a little more like dark hair, thinner maybe.
Is that from the book cover though? Did you get that because they show a thin guy?
My book cover doesn't have that on there. My book
okay.
looks completely different than your book.
Yeah,
We
that's
can bring
interesting.
the books in if
Like,
our
it
producer
doesn't-
wants to toss them to me.
Give me my book.
I thought
Let me
And
show
then
you
the other
what I
one's
have.
over there. So this
So that was my book.
Amanda's copy.
Oh, yeah, that's way different.
Yeah.
I like that cover.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah,
They
so-
did a whole series of, they reprinted all Stephen King's books with these really nice covers like that, and I like those. The It cover looks
mine
great,
shows like a thin, I guess he does have kind of gray hair, but he's a thin guy, tall, thin. On the
I
cover,
just imagine
in
him a little
wheelchair.
bit younger, darker hair. I don't know, either based on the description or like whatever I was imagining. But there was a show, Heroes, and the character was Peter Petrelli, and I think he's in. You said earlier, This Is Us.
Was
He's
it Peter
the
Petrelli?
dad?
Milo Ventimiglia.
Yeah,
Something like that. Ventimiglia?
Yeah.
He's the dad in This Is Us.
Stallone's kid.
So that's who I pictured kind of in that role. And then for Annie Wilkes, it's tough because
That's
Kathy
hard.
Bates. But
Yeah, it's
I've
really
got
tough.
2 that I'll throw out there. One, Time Daly. Still, you don't
Remind
know.
me who that is.
I don't know.
If I saw her face.
Cagney and Lacey.
Okay.
She has the same kind of build as Kathy Bates does. Maybe not quite the sinister portion, but I mean, definitely. There's not a lot of women in Hollywood that have that stature
Yeah.
that are
Which you need for this particular
strong,
casting, yeah.
dominant, square. And then maybe Roseanne Barr is the other one.
Ooh.
Who does she play in? Give me a reference.
See,
Don't
here's
judge
the
me.
age.
Don't judge me. I need a shaking his head back there.
Oh.
Just Google Roseanne.
Well, I don't want to now.
Do you know? Do you know John
Oh,
Goodman?
Roseanne from the show Roseanne?
Yes.
I know who that is. I didn't know her name was actually Roseanne in real life.
Yeah.
That's her. Oh,
Yep.
see, you guys
Yeah.
teach me stuff.
Yeah, so look up Time Daly though, because
Yeah, I
I
don't
think
know who
that
that is.
she's older now, but I think at the time that the movie was made, definitely
Yeah.
could have.
I agree with your Roseanne casting. I couldn't think of a guy, honestly. I wasn't expecting who they did cast. It didn't,
Yeah.
like when I saw it, I'm like, and then he grows on you, and I'm like,
Yeah,
it's fine.
because I've seen the movie before. I've seen it, watched it many times since I was a kid. So that actor was what I pictured in the book. So
That's
I had
interesting.
Kathy Bates and Robert Caan in my head. I think it's Robert Caan.
John Conn?
John
Con,
Caan was his last name. I had both of them in my head reading the book because I've seen the movie, and so
Yeah.
to me those characters are
They fit, yeah.
fit. But I definitely understand, like, if you've never seen the movie before, never watched them. But at this point we all know who Kathy Bates is, and her Oscar-winning performance is a nutcase.
Yeah.
Like, good job. but I mean, that speaks really to her skill. And Stephen King only allowed Rob Reiner and his production company to touch the movie. After their work on Stand By Me together, he would not let anyone else adapt Misery unless it was Rob Reiner, either producing or directing. And he ended up directing it. William Goldman adapted the book to screenplay, who's also the author of The Princess Bride and many other things. And but that's one of my favorites. So Stephen King had a lot of trusted people working on this, and he loved it. I mean, even he was screaming at the screen. I read an interview with him about it today, and he's like, look behind you, she's got a gun. And I'm like, that's Stephen King doing that about his own, so they did a great job. So it really speaks well to the people he allows to work on his stuff, because it's so hard to imagine anyone else doing that.
And to just have a movie with just a handful of characters is tough, no matter any way you say
And to
it.
tell a full story.
Yeah.
But I think I had in mind, I went a different direction. I didn't go with someone who was big and a little more domineering. I went with someone who I knew could do crazy.
Oh.
And in my head, I was thinking, even though she's really kind of tiny, it was Margot Robbie.
I don't know who
Give me a
that is.
reference. Yeah.
She played Harley Quinn in the new Suicide Squad. She was in Wolf of Wall Street.
Which is she in Wolf of Wall Street?
She was the girlfriend, the skinny,
Oh,
pretty
the
girl.
one that he's okay,
Yeah.
get it.
And she also plays Tanya Harding in I, Tanya, the new one coming out. So, yeah. So I'm like, she can do crazy.
Yeah.
She can do crazy, and I
Yeah.
think she could handle that kind of darkness, even though she's so small, though, because you look for stature.
Stature was a big thing because he
And
very
I agree
much
with that.
described
Lift
like,
him.
yep, she's just like
Yeah.
hauling him over her
Lifting him
shoulder
on the bed and all this stuff.
like
Yeah,
that was
so-
a big part of the
Yeah.
book.
So I do agree. If we were to recast it now, we would need someone with stature, but you also need someone who can carry that crazy.
Yes.
Which is, God, you're right. That's really hard to find right now.
What
Yeah.
about the girl, I don't even know her name, who played, it's escaping me, the movie about the stalker killer? There's like not a million of those. It's really old. I'm sorry, I'm making this a terrible, I'll come back.
We're just
come
going
back
to stare
me.
at her
I
awkwardly until she
know.
gets it.
She's married to, it's like she has an affair, she thinks he's having an affair. Doesn't forget about it. You know what I'm talking about?
Fatal Attraction.
Fatal Attraction.
Yes,
Thank you.
Diane.
She's pretty. Keaton? No.
Not Diane Keaton.
She played the in 101 Dalmatians, wasn't she the?
Cruella de Vil.
Yeah.
Glenn Close.
Nice.
Yes.
Quick on the Google. I like
Glenn
it.
Close.
But she's just kind of crazy. I feel like
Yeah.
not the stature again, but
It is hard in Hollywood, I think, to find someone that has that build, and that's kind of crazy.
This is a left field thought, but she is muscly. She's got great arms. She's and she's
like
a
my
tall
kind of
woman.
woman.
Yeah, and she's a tall woman. But what about Eva Mendes?
Eva Mendes, who is that?
She okay. Have you ever seen? See, this is becoming a movie review at this point.
I know.
Have you seen the movie with Will Ferrell?
I'm glad I'm not.
The Other Guys. I think it's only one of my favorite movies.
I just watched
The
it
Other
the other
Guys.
day, yeah.
It's the girlfriend. It's his wife.
Oh,
the really hot girl.
Yeah. Oh, she's in tons of stuff.
Yeah, she's in lots of stuff. So like I'm thinking Eva Mendes because she's a little more broad. She's still gorgeous, but like I think she could do crazy.
Yeah.
And
100%.
she would have the strength to.
Yeah.
Because she was rumored to be cast as the She-Hulk too. So, but that one is potentially going to someone else. That's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
So back to books. So we discussed like who would potentially play the leads, but like, since this is outside of both of your like reading, wheelhouse, what type of books do you typically read? Like what is in your wheelhouse?
I don't know. I mean, I'm a big just whoever recommends stuff. It doesn't matter. I don't really pick genres or So
Well,
it's just I generally don't read.
I know you read A Dog's Purpose recently.
Yeah. Yeah, so I like books about animals. That sounds so lame, but
No,
I
it
do.
doesn't.
Oh, God.
See, there's certain ones I can't read because I'll just bawl through the whole thing. I'm like, nope, I'll pass
I
on
like
it.
a good book that'll make me cry.
Oh, if I'm going to cry, I'm absolutely not going to pick up that book.
Yeah.
If the animal dies at the end, count me out.
I know.
Don't ever recommend that book to me. Don't talk to me about
Pet
that
Cemetery
book.
by Stephen.
No, they come back to life though.
But it's still time. But yeah, so I don't know. I like happy books. I like sad books. I like thrillers.
So you like to feel?
Yeah, I like
something.
to be connected because I don't know. I'm not a big like the lawyer. I didn't really. I couldn't connect with that one really right away. It took me too long to pick it up.
Took me a while too.
To get through it. I don't know. So, how about you?
Yep, I like dystopian books.
What's that?
Something where the world has kind of crashed and come to an end.
Those
and
are
then,
good. But that freaks me out because I think it could actually happen.
Well, and that's what I
there's a
like
lot
about
of
it.
it, yeah.
I really enjoy just kind of thinking about how that would happen in society. I mean, The Handmaid's Tale,
Which I have
just
right over
The
there.
Hunger Games. I mean, just like
Yeah, I do
there's
like
such
The
a
Hunger
swath
Games.
of books that fall within that you can get a huge amount of material in with that.
Yeah. A lot of dystopian tends to fall under the young adult category. How do you feel about that?
I mean, keeps me young.
You are a young adult.
I will say,
like Hunger Games and
because that
some
is
of
young adult.
that's they're still good, and I find that a lot of adults still enjoy reading those. So, do we think that it's accurately classified as young adult just because the characters are younger? Right.
That's how a lot of people classify it. But I enjoy young adult when there's little of the stereotypical teen angst. And just because I read this one book that it had a great plot, had a great core, but it was nothing but two teenagers complaining about things, and I was like, oh my God, kill me.
I think it's because
I was like, I hated this book.
I love it.
When they had such a good concept to go off of, I was like, this is going to be so cool. Oh my God, they're arguing again. It was so bad. So yeah.
Dystopian science fiction. I'm like a closeted science fiction book reader.
I think I have a book to recommend you then that I want to read too.
Yeah.
It
And
sounded
if you
really
combine the
interesting.
two, I mean, see you later.
Even better. See you in a month.
See you in a week when I'm done with
can I
it.
get a time check?
25 minutes.
Sweet. Okay, so let me see here. Let's see if I missed out on anything. Favorite leads, parts, and characters. Oh, would you recommend Misery to someone, or would
100%.
you?
I loved it, yeah. And so many people have recommended it to me in the past. I've never picked it up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I'm glad that you did.
It was like, read it.
Yeah, no, it was super good and well written. It took me a minute to get through the beginning, but I think that's like every book I've ever picked up. I don't know what it is. I just have to really learn the characters before I can.
And style of writing too.
It was
I think
very-
that's a different
yeah.
style.
It's very
of,
stylistic.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I was like, once I got into that rhythm,
And you knew what, you knew what he was doing with the whole. I mean, the flashbacks
thoughts
and the thought
and-
process, and half the time it's third person, right? The whole book almost. I mean, he's talking. I don't know. It's just some books aren't like that, but That's good. I loved it. Definitely read it.
Yeah, definitely.
Would you recommend it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, so let's give it a rating of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best.
I don't know. I would say there's something I didn't really like about it, honestly.
Yeah.
Cool.
10.
I would say a 9.
Okay.
Only just like some of the, like the abruptness of the end.
Yeah.
I mean, I like.
That's true. I was,
There were and the
okay, a 9.
pilings,
I agree
like
with the
those
9.
were like the two metaphorical.
So it's the very
Do,
beginning and the very end that was a little bit of struggle, but that everything else in between.
Everything else in between,
great.
You know,
perfect.
like
You
first
wanted to
5
read to
pages,
the
last
end.
5 pages you can do
Yes.
without.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, let's do some agile sizing here. You don't get it, you don't work with us.
I don't know, a lot of companies use Agile now.
This is true.
We're one of the
Yeah.
last companies to get to it.
Yeah, no, it's a great book.
Yep.
Hold up your cards. We're going to play Agile Poker.
We should have had those for the rate.
Oh
So
my
what do you
gosh.
rate
1,
this?
2, 3. Or
Do we match? Let's talk about it.
you can rate it as a 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, or 13.
Yeah.
13 might be too big. Let's split the book up a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Divide this up.
Yeah, make it a series.
Oh, that's funny.
He wrote it
corporate
interestingly
America.
with the chapter style was different than I'd ever seen. I have never read a book where it was
Yeah,
just
with
like,
sections and then chapters within each section
Yeah.
that started over from one.
It was interesting.
Yep.
Have you read a book that's designed?
Yeah,
like
well,
that?
I've read many Stephen King books.
Oh, does
so.
he? Okay.
Yeah,
I
he
don't
does
remember.
it- he
I read
does it
Pet Cemetery,
often.
but I don't remember if he did it like that or not. That was years ago.
Yeah, he's very Stephen King.
Okay.
Like this is quintessential.
This is just how he writes.
Yeah,
his
this
stuff.
is how he writes. This is his style.
Yeah.
The one thing that throws me with Stephen King every now and then is he uses some very old lingo that is not that like sometimes I'm like, what does that even mean? So,
Yeah.
but within the context of the book and the story he's telling, you get it. But it's like
Takes you a minute.
you're like, I would never say that.
Yeah.
So he's definitely maybe a little bit of an older audience, but if you can get past some of the older phrases he uses from like the 50s,
Yeah.
you know, you're good.
Yeah.
And I've generally been able to get past that because I'm a big fan of his anyway. So I would also recommend it. But I think a solid 9 is a really good place to land on this because if you're not used to Stephen King, like this is your first Stephen King book ever.
My
This is
second,
Misery, the first time for you, and you know, he takes a little bit to get used to.
And like Amanda said, this is one of the shorter ones. Like you're not, you know, Stephen King's a little intimidating for.
Yeah.
He can be.
So it's a good starter.
Like I read both of his longest books this year, which was The Stand and It.
Yeah.
And both of them are over 1,400 pages.
I don't know how you did that.
Very slowly.
Took the
one of
whole
them I listened to on audio, and it was
Yeah.
48 hours.
Really? Wow.
But it was fun listen, and you don't listen, you know, straight 2 days, but in the car, at work a little bit, you know. But the narrator was great. So speaking of, do you guys prefer physical books? Do you like the e-reader? Or do you listen
We
to
were
audio?
just talking about this. Books all the way.
The physical?
I mean, for me personally, I think you were agreeing with
I
me.
agree. The only thing that I like about an e-reader is that if I don't know a word, I can click on it and it
so
will
nice.
give me the definition.
Oh, it does? That's
Yes.
nice.
And now it stores your definitions, so you can
Oh.
reference them
Like
later.
that is a nice tool.
that's really nice.
Nice tool.
But like when you're going on a trip, like you're sitting on the beach, I don't want to take my iPad or my Kindle out there.
Get
Like this
sand in it,
is
yeah.
And then you can trade it off. Like if you finish in the middle of your vacation and you're with somebody,
Yeah,
like you know, you
switch
can
it
just
up.
Like our
kinda-
producer wants to read this book.
Yeah.
So, because I was in the military for a long time, and so the e-reader was fantastic for me. I love my e-reader. I use it all the time. I read Misery on my e-reader, but I left my Kindle at my mom's house over Thanksgiving. So I actually just finished the book this morning because I slowed down majorly because I hate reading on my phone. I have the Kindle app just in case, and it syncs with whatever's on your Kindle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how Nook works or any of the other e-reader brands, but this is just me personally. You know, it's not like a plug for Kindle, I promise, but it's just what I have and what I very much enjoy. So it syncs. So if I don't have my Kindle with me, it'll sync to my latest spot.
The Nook
And then when
does
I go
the same
home,
thing.
does it? Okay, cool.
Because it goes,
That's good to
it
know.
goes through like Amazon or something.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I could read the same book on, I think I had it on my Kindle on my phone and then it was
Multiple
still.
platforms.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it links to Goodreads, so however
Yes.
far I am or
That's
when I
nice,
finish
yeah.
it, it'll update the website.
Yeah,
There are
So I'm like,
definitely,
woo.
there are some perks.
Yeah, I love
so
it.
I'm not hating on the e-readers.
No.
Like, you guys have
I
convinced me
rotate.
now. Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah, I rotate. But your preference is physical?
I like, and I just like, I like books. I have a whole bookshelf. I just like to look at them. I don't know.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's nice.
It's nice to have your little library there.
It's
I've
nice.
just been filling mine recently because I'm not moving around every 2 years anymore. So I'm like, oh.
Now you can
But now I get that itch. It's just like, I need to move somewhere. Let's pack it up and go. What about audiobooks?
Never done it. I've listened to, again, this like murder series once when we took this vacation, like a family vacation, and I really enjoyed it. It was just nice to do, but I've never purchased one or gone out of my way to look for a book on tape, but I've listened to one or two and I liked it. I just don't do it. Yeah.
So I can't do book on tape or book on CD or podcast
on whatever.
Or
whatever.
download. Book on download.
Jen, when we go on our road trips together, I don't know if you've ever been in Cracker Barrel.
Into one.
Cracker Barrel,
is
and again,
Marca.
this is not a plug for Cracker Barrel, but you can like rent book on tape there, like CDs of books.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But like they'll charge your credit card like $50 or something, and then you just take it to whatever Cracker Barrel you land at next, and you can give it back, and then it's a $5 rental, something crazy like that. So Jen would she was into like the Patricia Cornwell series, and she listened to it all the way from Ohio down to Tybee Beach in Georgia, and I slept the entire way. And I really liked that series. I read it many years ago.
It just puts you to sleep.
I just like
Is it
lights
because
out. Lights out.
is that like, I don't know.
Narrator has a lot to do
Well,
with it.
but you know, have you ever read or listened to David Sedaris?
Yes, that's the
No.
one. My mom's obsessed. Like the holiday one.
I mean,
especially.
it's funny, but again, if I'm in the car and I'm listening to it,
Yeah.
it's lights out. you know?
I don't know.
But I could listen to it at home, like if
but
I'm at
it,
home,
like
I can
it
listen to
definitely
that.
depends on how
the
it's read.
narrator. Yeah.
I like listening to memoirs and nonfiction on audio because I pay more attention.
Yeah.
If I'm reading a nonfiction and it gets a little too textbooky, my brain wanders. Because even though I enjoy these things, my brain will wander and I won't listen to it or won't read it. But I'm listening to it is much
And I
better.
don't like to multitask. I don't think while I'm reading. Reading to me is like I want to sit down
You're
and this is
invested.
my time
Yeah.
to relax.
And I love that.
And I feel like when you're driving or
You're
you're
not half
at
paying
work or
attention.
it's just like I don't want it to be that. I don't ever want it to be that. I want this to be like my
You want to
moment.
give it your full attention.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Books
that's
deserve it. These authors put a lot of work
Exactly.
into them.
Yeah, exactly.
So 2018 is now over, or 2017 is over.
You're just Stephen King here. 18
Fast
months
forward.
Okay.
So we're taping this a week before Christmas. This will air New Year's Eve. So 2018, we have our new genre picked out, which is historical nonfiction. So I'm really excited about it. And I don't know why I put this down there because I needed it.
Done with
I like
this.
it.
Done.
Get it out of here.
So the very first book of our 2018 genre for historical nonfiction is going to be The Lost City of the Monkey God by Douglas Preston. Now I can do that. Typically, I give you guys a copy of the book, but it's sitting in my shopping cart online because I forgot to hit
That's awesome.
the button.
The one-click buy.
Yeah, I totally forgot. I had it queued up, and then something distracted me. Probably my dogs, because they're so darn cute.
Happens, yeah.
It does. And I was like, something distracted me. So the books are not here yet, but I did bring you something.
Oh, treats.
Teehee.
Blue Buffalo.
Hell yeah.
Is this a plug for Blue Buffalo now? What is this? Oh,
Snow caps.
So I brought you guys
perfect.
candy.
Thank you, babe.
Thanks.
Because snow caps in Colorado and
Look at that full circle.
that was
guys.
totally not on
Double
purpose.
This is a plug for snow caps. They're
Yes.
delicious. Buy them.
So yeah, I totally forgot. And then when I realized what I did, I was like, why are the books not here? And I went back to the website. I was like, oh.
Ooh, still in the cart.
So I'll have to get them to you later.
Oh, thank you.
That's awesome.
But they're coming, I
That's so
promise.
nice.
So any book recommendations for audience listeners?
I'm always going to recommend eating animals. I think even if you don't want to be vegetarian, it's just very it's great to just know about what your food
Was that
comes
the
from.
same book in quarter one when you
Yep.
went?
Yep.
I
John
wish
So you
Safran
should
IV.
do that.
I wish I would have come up with the antithesis of that book.
Eating animals.
The complete opposite.
Eat them raw. Blood.
Don't eat food my food eats.
What would you recommend?
Right now I'm reading The Glass Castle. I'm not far enough into it to actually recommend it or not, but that's what I'm currently reading.
Who wrote that?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, one of my other friends recommended it. I think it's loosely based on a true story. But,
I always like a true story.
yeah, so I'm only maybe 50 pages in. I like books that are written by an adult, but like in the perception of a child or a kid, and it's about this girl growing up and her parents pretty much being transients across the United States and living out of dumpsters and trash cans and having 3 kids.
Nice.
That they're having to come along
This
for the
isn't
ride.
a book review about the Glass Castle.
I know. That's,
Well,
it's just completely different than something I would
generally read.
speaking of historical nonfiction, one book that I read this year, listened to on audiobooks, was fantastic.
See, it fell into the groupino.
There we go. Is Radium Girls by Kate Moore. Fantastic, a little gruesome. It's about the dial painters when no one knew that radium was bad for you, and
cool.
their lawsuit, and it's fascinating.
Yeah.
You finished it or you're reading
Oh,
it?
I'm done with it. I finished it a couple months ago, but it's highly recommend. I love that book. It is so good. And right now I'm currently reading Code Girls, which is about the World War II code breakers, the women that they brought in, and they credit our use and utilization of women as the turning tides of the war. And I was like, yeah.
Nice. See, you do something that, I don't know if you can, she reads like multiple books at a time.
Oh,
I
so I have like
do that.
8 books going right now.
Cannot
It's not
do
even
it.
kidding.
I would mix up the characters and I don't know. It would be
I
bad.
can hop from book to book.
Yeah.
I could put a book down for months or years and not worry
And
about it, pick it right back up.
Yeah.
My mom doesn't understand how that happens either, but you know.
It's cool.
So, all right, so let's wrap this thing up.
Ready to
So, team,
Ta-ta-ta.
Happy New Year.
Happy
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Sam,
Katie.
Amanda.
and we'll talk to you guys next
What is
time.
you guys?
All right, thank you guys so much for joining us. That was quite a conversation. Always great to have these 2 lovely ladies with me because we work together. We're goofy all day long, so as I'm sure you can tell. But I hope you enjoyed Misery as much as we did. As you can tell, we gave it a solid 9, and I think that's a great ranking for a book of that caliber. Let us know. Let me know what you thought about it. Please go to www.iabdpresents.com. Click on reviews and go to the Quarterly Book Club. Let us know what you thought. And also, while you're on that website, check out all of our written work. There's a bunch of stuff on there by Jerome Wetzel. There is God is My BFF. It's a written like web series. Just pretty much the script portion of it, but it's 4 sections and it's all complete now, so you can get those on the website. Check out my writing, Stark Story Snacks, a collection of mini stories, and also It's All Been Written Before, which is our story contest. Our 2018 rules and theme will be coming out very soon, so keep an eye out on that, writers. And again, thank you for joining me at the Quarterly Book Club. Happy New Year, and see you next time.